What's up, bros? We're here with Nick Lyons from, I'm sorry, I forgot the name of the company again.
Sure.
I said it a whole bunch of times in my head.
I know.
It's like there's so many companies we need to remember. I remember where it's at. It's in London, right?
Territory.
Territory.
Yep.
In London.
In London and San Francisco and New York as well.
Oh, okay. So there's 3 different offices. Now you work out of the London office, correct?
I work out of the London office. We just opened our San Francisco studio last year and have a satellite New York office, but our London office is kind of the mothership of the company.
And you guys are about to move, like in just a couple weeks. I heard on your presentation, right?
Yeah. We've been expanding quite a bit over the past year. A lot of these film projects have kind of snowballed into other ones, and since we've been diversifying into kind of the more visual effects type pipelines, it's opened up a lot of opportunities for other types of projects, and essentially we're having to build a whole new studio with new servers and new structures and everything to accommodate all that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, just having the 3 different studios, New York, San Francisco, and London, and so let me jump another way real quick. So you guys recently did work on Ghost in the Shell, right? And currently you're working on the new Blade Runner?
That's right, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So with the 3 different locations, I'm not sure whether you guys is only the London group working on one and they're kind of working on their own stuff, or do you guys collaborate at all?
It's typically kind of segmented where the London office will get certain jobs and the San Francisco office gets certain jobs, and the New York office gets other ones. We don't really collaborate, but we do, if we're overloaded in London or if they're overloaded in San Francisco, we'll swap jobs. Depending on the client. If they're a West Coast client, then usually the San Francisco office needs to keep them because they don't want to have to wait 8 hours to get information from London. So we don't really work together too much, but we still have all the same creative directors and stuff working on it. So
we got some crazy VR stuff going on in the background, and then all the crazy guns shooting over there. You and I are going to go do the guns right after this. So okay, so let's talk about. You guys just finished up Ghost in the Shell, that was released, and that's a lot of what you showed off today was kind of like all the crazy, what amazes me about them, oh my God. We got interviews going on over here. Anyway, I know, right? What amazes me about Ghost in the Shell in particular is how layered it is. When you were showing the breakdowns of everything, it's like, you normally think that you would just have 1 or 2 layers of something, but it's when you were showing the breakdown, it's like layer after layer after layer after layer in order to create these massive, really interesting landscapes and UI elements and stuff like that. So talk a little bit about that process and maybe how you guys come up with the design of and how how many layers is too much and how it is just enough and stuff.
Yeah, it's really kind of very much like an experimental type process. I mean, you take a lot of times these companies will give you assets like ships or weapons or something like that, and you have to play around with it in cinema and make it feel like it's part of this hologram kind of UI type world. So traditionally we use a lot of 2D graphics from After Effects and bring them into cinema. X-Particles plays a really large role. You can also use Trapcode Form or Particular if you need a quicker render just out of After Effects. But it's really just, it just depends on really the kind of brief and how the object animates and looks. The whole concept and idea with layering is it gives a very complex look. And you're making a lot of very simple kind of very very simple type of animations, and when you put them all together, they look like something that's very digital and complex. So
yeah, and I found that it's almost like to add realism, you add more stuff, and kind of dirty it up a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's at least what I've found when doing work in order to kind of sell it a little bit.
Absolutely, and I think that's the thing with. We didn't do a lot of photorealistic stuff for Ghost in the Shell, but when working with John Dykstra, the lead effects guy of the production, he gave us some advice, and he basically said, when you're finishing up a project, you want to throw a 2-pixel Gaussian blur over everything. And
that's what I do.
Yeah. So it kind of it muddies it up just a little bit. I mean, the thing is, when you're trying to create photoreal stuff, you really have to create it and make it look organic and push the right pieces and add the correct amount of like layers and noises and stuff, and it's quite difficult, but
yeah, you say difficult, but like from the stuff that you were demoing today, it's like a lot of the stuff that you were using, like splines in a cloner, in a loft, and it's like, then I was watching along, and I was like, oh, he's going to use like noise or turbulence or something, and sure enough, there it was, and it's like these such intricate little UI elements and stuff like that. It's like, but it's relatively easy to make. You're just making all these small, easy ones and layering them up together in order to make something much more complex.
Yeah, that's kind of how we like to work. Is we take something that looks very complex and add just very simple detail to it. This whole project we didn't really have the flexibility to do a ton of crazy effects and simulations, simply because everything had to be baked out and transferred into a Maya file.
Okay.
So normally if we're doing screens for like Avengers or something like that, we can pretty much like throw out all the different like fireworks that we want to add into the scene. But this, we had a few different parameters that we had to stick within. So a lot of the solograms that I talked about were essentially just it's basic modeling, basic XYZ animations, and really not a whole lot of MoGraph because we had to bake everything out, and it had to all be transferred, so we couldn't use the effectors and stuff that we used, and all that stuff had to be quite simple. So
yeah, I noticed because you were exporting out Alembic files, right?
Yeah. So we exported Alembic files, brought those into Maya, and delivered all of the assets through Maya, because MPC and visual effects companies have a certain pipeline they need everything to fit into. And if you're delivering OBJ sequences or something like that, that would work, but it doesn't fit into the kind of the stringent pipeline they need. So we had to actually package everything up in Maya, send them these plates with all this color information, these spinning HDRIs with the three different environments, the morning, afternoon, and evening environments, and those allowed them to see the reflections based on the model. And it's a very process intensive thing when you're working in visual effects as opposed to motion graphics. Because motion graphics, you don't have to really UV map a whole lot generally.
Throw it on cube and then you're good.
Cubic map it, yeah. It's like no problem. You flat map it. If no one's even looking at the back of it, you can flat map it. So it was a big learning process for us, and we created a bunch of tools to help us with that. But it was really helpful, and it gives us kind of the insight when we're doing this again to have the correct tools that we need for it.
So let me ask you about X particles. You used a bunch of X particles, especially in order to get that kind of voxelized look and stuff like that, and like kind of it's not dusty, but like the dust particle look kind of. Tell me a little bit about the workflow with X particles, and then since you're taking that over to Maya or sending it to Maya, I don't know. No, that's my fault because I don't know X particles as well as I should. But how do you then bring that over to what they need?
Yeah. So essentially, what we did is the majority of the work that we did at the front end of my presentation was all conceptual. Mm-hmm. So most of that was not production type work, so it was mostly to get an idea across the director to say this is how it could look, so we could use like X particles and didn't have to cache or bake anything. When it came to the solograms and we did like the confetti flying out of that woman's head, we had to cache all the particle simulations using the XP cache tool in X particles, and then we used Nitro Bake and Steady Bake to just bake all those down and give them all kind of points in space to transfer it over into Maya. So we had to bake everything out into geometry basically, so there's no particles or anything by the time we sent it off. So
cool. Let's talk. I don't know if you can. Can we talk Blade Runner?
We can, probably not. Yeah,
okay. It's probably safer not to.
It's cool though. It was a fun project. It's a bit different than some of the other projects that we've done, just because of the stylism of Blade Runner itself.
I mean, Blade Runner is. So I've noticed a lot of like Octane renders on like the subreddit and stuff like that. They're trying to go for this dystopian landscape type of thing, and that's like very popular now. You're gonna shame me. Everyone will shame me. I actually only watched the first Blade Runner movie maybe a couple months ago, and so I'm watching it. I'm like, these all look like Octane renders. You know, it's the whole popular thing. So like, I think with the new Blade Runner coming out, you know. I mean, were you guys able to like maybe go with the current style or the current? I don't know what I'm trying to ask. You know.
I mean,
maybe I just want to know more about Blade Runner.
That'll be something that I'll see as well, really, because I know that during production they did. I think they're probably going to try to stay closer to the original, but I'm not exactly sure how all the sets will look. We just delivered a lot of screen graphics for those, but yeah, it looks to be pretty cool, and hopefully they keep it within kind of the same world. But I think it's coming out this fall. But yeah, there's not a whole lot I can talk about.
No, I understand.
But I think we'll probably
maybe next Siggraph.
Next
Siggraph.
Yeah, so that'd be cool. Yeah.
Okay, well, where can people get a hold of you if they have any questions or they want to hit you up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram?
Would be great. Yeah. Okay. Just look up Nick Lyons on Facebook. Also, you can follow Territory Studio on Facebook as well. Hit me up at nicklyons@territorystudio.com if you have any questions. But yeah, it should be good. I'm happy to explain anything if they have any questions about the presentation. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Cool, man, yeah.
Let's get over there and play some of that VR game. All right.
Onwards.
Thank you guys for watching. Stick around for more videos with iDesign and Prograph. Thank you guys.